Board Gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we've got a special treat for you as we're going to be reviewing Tokyo Sidekick, published by Japanime Games, originally published by Little Future. It is designed by Yusuke Emi with translation done for this beautiful English version. Well, you'll see more of it when we look at the components and when you get your own box. So the translation was done by Maisie Hatchard. And a big thanks to Jackson Wood and the rest of the staff at Japanime Games for inviting us to join them on this Kickstarter by sending us this copy of the game. Now, also you notice this is number 1, so if it does well, we may be seeing some expansions. I believe there's at least going to be a expansion 1.2 on the Kickstarter. Now, with that being said, Julie, tell our viewers more about the game itself.
So it's a cooperative game that plays 2 to 4 players in basically 45 to 90 minutes, and it's for ages 12 and above.
Yeah, so what are you doing in Tokyo Sidekick? Well, obviously it's set in the city of Tokyo. You will take on the role of a hero as well as their sidekick, and you're going to be moving around the city, resolving events, but also apprehending the villains and sending them to Adachi Asylum. Yes, that's a little bit of a Batman reference right there. So you'll see some really cool characters, and there's 3 types of heroes. You've got power heroes, speed heroes, and concentration heroes. They each do things differently. Now, all characters have their own special power as well as a deck. So you'll be building their deck by using experience to add cards to the deck, as well as unlocking new abilities and some equipment for your sidekicks. Well, I think I've covered everything. Oh,
yep.
There's one last thing. After you've defeated all of the villains and then the super villains, you must defeat the menace in order to save Tokyo. So what time is it, Julie?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Can't quite grab our best friend, but we'll try. A little bit of a distance tap there.
And we're going to take it to the table one more time.
Yeah, let's get to the table. Looking forward to playing this with 3 and 4 players.
Yep.
Now we're going to take a quick look at the components for Tokyo Sidekick. Now, for those of you that have seen other Dice & Dragons videos, we are a little bit more zoomed out than normal just to make sure we get this giant board and everything on camera. As usual, we'll start with content that I don't have on camera, which is the rule book. So we'll start with the back of it. You've got a nice, quick reference guide, and I'll actually put it down here just to make sure we get everything on camera. Nice setup and layout, overview of the game components, how to set up the game. Oh, we're hitting some of the cards there. I'll just move them quickly and put them back. Now you got a breakdown of all the different actions that you're going to be taking, and then some examples of that then lead into the world of Tokyo Sidekick after the FAQ. That's one of my favorite aspects of the rule book. You get a nice breakdown of the characters, their age, and as you read through this, you realize that a lot of these characters actually do have some intertwining history. So if you do like the lore behind games as well, you'll enjoy it. Now, we don't get nearly as much lore for the all the villains and not all the menaces. You get some personal connections in the back here, which I thought was pretty cool. Also, sneak peek as to what is going to be coming. And then when you take a look at this earlier part, which I accidentally skipped over, you have a nice breakdown of the heroes and their sidekicks and who you could potentially pair them up with. So use this guide. It'll definitely help you get started. And when you do get it on Kickstarter, you do get the Tokyo Sidekick Day 1 comic book, which is pretty cool. This was also nicely translated by Maisie Hatchard, which I really like. She does great work on this game. So you'll see we've got some stuff coming out for 2020, the base game, and then there's Dead Asylum. Hopefully we'll get another comic book. I do find the world fairly fascinating. Now let's get these cards back on camera. Now we're going to start with this section and we'll move across. We'll just keep things very straightforward. We'll start with these boards and then show you the standees. So as you'll notice, there are 4 hero boards. It is a 4-player game, max. So you've got just the different colors. So you have 2 standees of each color, one for your hero, one for your sidekick. Now, you don't need to pay attention to the limit of cards here. You can play more than that, depending on what you have. You have a breakdown of all the different moves you can do during your game, what they're going to cost, and a nice XP tracker. So as you can see, we've got a red, a blue, a green, and a yellow player board. Next, we have what's known as the Secret Organization of Good. These guys are going to handle the power-ups for our cards. They also let us do power-ups in terms of skills, as well as some other cards which we'll take a look at in the moment. Now, what you're going to be doing, as there are 3 different types of heroes. So there's power heroes. You'll notice there's a double P and a triple P. These things are placed in good, and that's where you're going to be doing the deck building component of the game, buying cards and expanding your hand. So you can see we've got power, speed, and then concentration. Oh, that's a little backward, not a big deal. In any case, you will start with a 1 double of your chosen type. Each hero has their own type. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then all the other upgrades come from this board. Now, let's take a look at this stack of cards, and we'll take a look at the standees as well. And we do have the acrylic standees that we'll take a quick look at. Not all of them. There's be way too much stuff. So you can take a look at the heroes. You can tell what type they are, as listed down there, what they have for ×2. There's their special ability, a little bit of background on them. You also have abilities that they can unlock. These ones here are 6 XP. The last one is 10. So you can see your P can be worth ×3 attack. We've got Kaguya Girl, Samurai Man, Gray Rabbit, Operation Nuclear Infantry, so the Oni, Cool Guy, who is actually a villain. You'll see him right here. So he's one of the heroes you can't start out as, but you can reacquire him as you play the game. We have Elec Armor, inspired by Iron Man, Sonic Shadow, Snake Kiss, Melty Sweet, Cyber Tengu, who's a speed hero, and yeah, those last ones here, Melty Sweet and Snake Kiss are concentration heroes. So you can see the different types. Now take a look at their standees. So each of them has yellow background standee. And normally I actually would have done a little bit more in terms of talking about the characters and all their different abilities, but there's so many characters and abilities in this, it would just take forever. And that's what we've got. Hero cards, standees actually. As we'll go through this, just to remind me where I am. Put those hero cards on the bottom for the moment. Now, if you want to have a nice comparison, here are the acrylic standees. You can see the yellow base. And then there's Oni. And here we've got the Gray Rabbit. They look really good. And if you want to get a nice upgrade for the game, I do recommend them. Next, we've got the sidekicks. So let's pick up and take a look at the sidekick cards. So here we've got Alpha Kid. You notice that each of them has a spot to equip a hero gadget, depending on who they're paired up with, which will give them some more abilities. So we have Alpha Kid, Vanilla Girl. They have their own special abilities as well. We've got Haruki Takamura, Haikyuu, Shimaru, Kevin Parks, Smoothie Bear, James Kiritani, Oda Glamour, Jinx Cat, who's also a villain, not a super villain, but she can't be picked right away, but you can acquire her. So these are the different sidekicks that you'll get in the game. Now we'll just take a look at their different standees. So Vanilla Girl, James Kiritani, Haruki, Shimaru. Not much to see, just the same art that's on their characters, but it's pretty good. Sorry that I dropped O. Not the easiest to hold on to. If you want to see what some of their standees look like, you got the bluish base, and there's Haikyuu, and there is the Alpha Kid. So good stuff there. We will now, I'm just going to actually hold this up because when I put it down, I think it'll go off camera. We've got the villains. So Sand Shark, Sakura Wolf. There's just a misprint in this copy. There's no white border. 8-Bit Master. Now you see each of them have a starting area, defense, health, and what their abilities are. Ribbon Raider, Yasha the Witch, Soul Bandit, Mirror, Shot Geisha, Jinx Cat. Take a look at their standees. So here we've got standees for all of them. I definitely can't remember all their names, but you get the idea as to what you're getting in the game. I'm trying to speed this up just a little bit. I do like the look of Sand Shark, and just to give you an idea of what they look like in acrylic, you We've got the white base. So here is 8-Bit Master, and here is Sand Shark. Next, with the black base, we've got the supervillains as well as the menaces. The menaces are who you need to defeat. So we'll just go through their standees quickly, and then we'll take a look at them. Definitely haven't fought all of them. So here's Fuji Sengen, one of the menaces. Same background as the villains. King Kaiju. Forgot the name of this guy, but he was definitely tough to fight. And we've got the Sushi Ship, which I just really like. So let's take a look at those super villains now and menaces. So Metal Impulse, Kabuki, who has 3 cards in here that he will actually put into play. We've got Dr. Quake, Shiwasu Tycoon, inspired by the Shredder, Yada, Cool Guy, who definitely is inspired by Iceman. As you can see, here he is as a villain, but if you defeat him, he can become a hero that you can control. Curse, Sushibot, Great Sumo, Wabi Sabi, and then we've got the 3 menaces in the game. So Fuji Sengen, King Kaiju, and Dokkan the Castle of Darkness. You must defeat them in order to win the game. So we've taken a look at the heroes, the standees, some of the hero powers. Now we have these damage cards as well, which you will take, and we'll explain when we get into the how to play. Each hero has their own set of skills and abilities. So as you can see, they have equipment, which will let their sidekicks also get ×2 for attacking when using those different symbols. Then they've got different skills that they will unlock, so ×2. So you can tell it's really based on what type of hero they are. And these abilities are clutch as they really change the game and allow you to do a lot more stuff than you'd normally be able to do. For example, Perfect Answer. This lets Sonic Shadow speed around the board and just resolve these incidents. Like Armor can get something that will let him jet up to 3 spaces. So really cool stuff. Everything is thematic to the different characters. Kaguya Girl's passive, which is really at the start of Kaguya Girl's attack or assist phase. If you have 8 or more cards in your hand, she gets another +5 attack. You might be wondering how you can do that. Well, chain her together with some of Oni's abilities, then you're definitely able to do a lot of cool stuff. Samurai Man, for example, his level 1 sword dance keeps you from taking damage, which can be really important as you're playing the game. Then we've got these amazing duo cards, which you can upgrade at good. They give, so when you are fighting with your sidekick, if they're upgraded, they're worth +6. At all other times, you get an extra +3 attack. Then we've got the Dynamic Family, as well as the the Wonder Trinity cards. So if you do get Cool Guy or Jinx, depending on how many of them you have and who's in the same spot, you can actually use your amazing duo as well as the Dynamic Family if you got all 4 characters for a whopping extra 12 attack. This is the kind of stuff that you absolutely need to defeat the menace. Taking one down completely by yourself just really isn't going to happen. Lastly, we've got these incidents in Tokyo. So you can see we have some greenback incidents and got mixed up a little bit. Now these greenback incidents, and we'll look at the red ones in a second, are the starter ones. They go on the board. You'll notice that there are different levels with yellow, green, and red. Yellow and red ones will push up this destruction track, meaning they're the most important ones. They're also themed as such, like this is an art thief, this is a blackmailer, or just dealing with harassment. So as a hero, you're going to be taking care of everyday problems as well as some bigger ones. Now with the Kabuki ones, that's for that villain Kabuki. These red ones will only come into play, and as you can see, you got to take them out very quickly. All 3 of them are red if he happens to enter the game. Other than that, we've got that's another green one, the standard incidents in Tokyo. So we'll just take a look at the deck. So some are green, some are red, like an Inferno. You got to resolve quickly. Then you got green ones like a lost pet. There might be a shooting, a town cleanup, smuggling, some more worrisome ones. And then you can see on the card, it tells you where to place these events. So there you have it. That's just about everything you got in Tokyo Sidekick. Lastly, we're going to try to show you the board, but this thing is big. I get the feeling that I might even knock the camera, so doing my best here not to hit anything. And The board is double-sided. One side is for, well, this one here, as you can tell by the bottom with the 2 cards. And I actually will tell you, I believe on the other side right here, this is the 2-player board, and the other side is to be a 4-player board. I really can't showcase the whole thing, so we're going to leave it at that. It's a double-sided board, and you'll get a better look at it when we set up and show you how to play the game. So keep it right here. I'll be back, and we're going to teach you the game. Now we're going to teach you how to set up Tokyo Sidekick. As you can see, though, the board is massive. I believe even the top where we've got Adachi Asylum, where you're going to place your captured villains and super villains in order to trigger the arrival of the menace, is actually cut off. So what I'm going to be doing, I've got your player board, the board for good. We've got the hero that we're going to be in our sidekick. But the sidekick first, since the game is Tokyo Sidekick. We've got Alpha, Kid, and Samurai Man going with the heroes that are plays front and center. You know, Samurai Man, he's really got that Japanese and Tokyo flavor. We have the incident cards already out on the board, as well as the damage cards. There are some other incident cards. Now, these red ones, the Kabuki projects, are going to be set aside. They will only come into play if the supervillain, Kabuki, makes it into the game. You're then going to flip these over, and you're going to place them where it tells you on the map. So we've got Hirakusho right here, and you can see if you line everything up, it should fit actually like it's part of the board. It's not the best, but it's pretty good. We've got a blackmailer in Tsukushima. I do like the fact that we got some flavor text. Otsuka, we've got up here. Next, we've got Komogame. Right up here. Sugamo. Over here. And Meguro, that's all the way over in the bottom. Now, this is a red event, meaning we got to get to it as soon as possible. We need to set the destruction gauge over here at 0. We're going to need to take these fire tokens. I just had them on the board. We'll keep them next to the board. We then also need the incident track marker. Now this board is the 2-player board. You can tell by the amount of squares we have here. It's also written below in the corner, which I do believe is cut off. So we will reveal the first 2 cards, and these are the incidents that are going to come into play. So this is how you set up your board. Notice that I've covered everything, but we didn't need this spot. Well, that was by design. What you're going to need to do for the board for good is you're going to place all your triples out on the board. As well as almost all of your doubles. The reason for that is when we get to setting up your hero, depending on the type of hero you have, you will also get 1 double. Now, each hero starts with 3 cards of each type, and then for their type of hero that they are, they gain a double. So Samurai Man is a power hero. You can tell from there. We add this to the deck. We're going to be shuffling this up. And then dealing out 5 energy. Oh, drop the card here. So we can show you the actions that he can take. Now, I got a concentration. I'm going to take the double P out because I want to teach you about successive actions. And to do that, you need one of those that has a double. So the rest of this stuff, I just moved off camera. That's going to be my deck. You just put it someplace near your player board. Now, you will also need to take these 4 cards. Each hero has their own 4 set of cards. 1 equipment that can be bought for 2 XP and equipped on your sidekick to give them a ×2 bonus for your type of energy. Then these other skills that each cost 3 XP that must be unlocked in order so that you can use them. Sword Dance is really good. When they're unlocked, you just flip them over as so. You will also need your Amazing Duo attack card, which you'll need to keep near your hero. And you'll want to have the Wonder Trinity Wonder Family card near good in case you happen to recruit either Cool Guy or Jinx Cat. Now you also need the sushi token. This only comes into play if the sushi bot villain shows up. So we've got our cards. We're going to just take a look at this closer. We also have these 3 unlock tokens for these different skills. The top 2 cost 6, the last one costs 10. You will eventually unlock them, and if you do, just place that icon, to tell yourself that the skill is available. So let's move this stuff off camera right now because we need to finalize our setup, and I know some stuff is shifting around. Doing the best I can. My voice is probably even getting a little far away. We'll just push this one up and off like that. Probably the least pain in the butt way to do it. We now and then need to take a look at the villains. So we have our villain cards, our super villain cards, as well as the menace. Now with regards to the menace, it tells you to pick a menace that you're going to fight, place them, somewhere off to the side. What I like to do is just put them face down in this spot. Now I'm going to slide it down because I do remember that that's cut off camera, but just to give you an idea, you will want to place your menace somewhere that's visible. You know what? For right now, it'll work right there. In any case, that just gives you an idea what you can do. What you then need to do is shuffle up the villain cards, as well as the super villain cards. You place the villain cards on top of the super villain cards, placing them right here, creating your enemy deck. You're going to reveal the first villain. So here we've got 8-Bit Master, who will be located in Abisu. Now, of course, you can't actually quite see where these locations are. I'm just going to leave him out on the board. We'll just press everything down, didn't realize it was sticking up. So here we've also need to get our heroes on the board. And sorry for the fact that that's cut off a little bit. But we've got Samurai Man and Alpha Kid. So Alpha Kid starts in Tokyo and Samurai Man in Nihon Bashi. So I do know that Tokyo is right here. Nihon Bashi is here. Abisu, I believe, is somewhere. It's right there in this area. You're going to need to take your standee. And I'm actually going to lie them down flat afterwards just so that we have a better look at them. So you take your standee for the character. Grab their base and then place them in their location. Now, once you have this card, you want to leave it revealed face up there. Apologies, I think it's getting cut off the camera. But you'll place it in one of those 3 locations. So here we have 8-Bit Master in Abisu. Sorry, I put him in Toyosu. Nihon Bashi is here. Alpha Kid's in Tokyo. We'll move this stuff off camera. We are now set up and ready to play Tokyo Sidekick. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to have a bunch of the stuff off camera, and we're going to probably do a little bit of readjusting of the board, but I'll try to find a spot where I can place my character card, at least so you can see what I'm doing. But things like the good board, which as I moved, as you can see, did get mixed, jostled around. This stuff will be off camera. I'll just reference what we're going to be doing when we get to the other play. So double cards, 2 XP, triples, 3 XP, 6 XP for the ×2 attack, 10 XP for the ×3, then 4 XP to upgrade your amazing duo. So maybe I'll slide it under the board if I can, just to see part of it. In any case, as you can see, the board is massive. Can't see Adachi Asylum. Now, keep it right here, as I'm going to be coming back at you, and I'm going to teach you how to play Tokyo Sidekick. Now, you cannot play with just one player, so we will have to set up another hero. Just keep that in mind. The setup is identical, and I'll probably put out another hero on the board. I just don't know if I'm going to have their player board out. It's a little tricky with this giant map, but I do love it. So keep it right here. Be back in a flash. All right, so I've gone ahead and gotten the board just a little bit better position. We've got the information for good over here. We've got our double P's, S's, and C's right here. Our triples are right here. The fire tokens, if we need them, are there. Our menace is here. We've got the villain deck here. 8-Bit Master is currently to play. I know he's a little bit cut off, but that's the best I could do, as I wanted to make sure most of this is visible. I have blocked off this section of the board to have a player board. If I need to, I will remove it. I've also gone ahead and added Sonic Shadow as well as Eau de Glamour into the game, because you know what? You need to be playing this at 2 players. So he's got his set of cards, and as you can see, he has the double S. Now, the way this is going to work, we're going to go through some examples of the different actions. I can do my best to do it just by playing the game, but I'm sure we'll have to set up a few different examples. Now, we have the ability to move, and it'll cost 1 of any type of energy. We have the ability to charge up, which costs 2 of any kind of energy. Maybe wondering why you're going to do that. Well, if you've got a double, you can charge up to try to draw another card. You can brush up, which will remove a card from the game. So I can spend, I'm a power type with Samurai Man. I can spend a P to remove an S from the game. I can also do that to remove damage. However, if you remove damage, it is out of the game. This damage deck ever is depleted, you will lose the game. Now we are currently playing with the game set to easy because I just didn't want to take out the cards. There are a total of 25 damage cards. In normal game, you will take out 5 and play with 20. So you know what? That's actually what we'll do. We'll play with 20 damage, even though I don't think we're going to get that far, but that's what we're going to do. Now we can resolve an incident. You'll notice that this has a question mark, and actually, what I'm going to do is just lift this up to get a little closer, actually, just so that you can see it. So you'll notice 1 energy of any type, 2 energy of any type, 1 energy of any type. This is a question mark. It relates to the incidents on the board. For example, Tsukushima requires 1 P, whereas the yellow Yurakucho requires 1 P and another one of any type. Next, you can attack, which is a question mark. It'll depend on what you're able to do. You have the ability to assemble, which means you can bring your characters to the same location. So 1 character, hero or sidekick, keep that in mind. Then there is the power-up options, which is spending your XP in order to become stronger. Now we'd like to take out 8-Bit Master. We also need to resolve these yellow and red events that are currently going on in the city before this track resets. And it's going to be fairly tricky. We don't have a good way to get to him, but we can try. Now, we were able to do a movement action with a double P, as this requires 1 energy. Using a double will let you do what's known as a successive action. Just please note, you may not do a successive action with attack. It is the one type of action that cannot be done. So what we could do, for example, is move Samurai Man 1, 2, 3, 4. Unfortunately, we're still not quite close enough to get to him. Another thing we could have done, now this is poor strategy, but could work in a different scenario. You might want to move 1, 2, and then move your other character 1, 2 in another direction, which is actually probably what we're going to do. If we're taking a look at where we can move, what needs to get accomplished right now, and the fact that these yellow things are dangerous and 8-Bit Master is just too far away for us to handle, probably the best move for us is to use this. The double P is not going to work as well because we need 2 Ps to resolve that. Really not a great start for us in this game. It's definitely going to be challenging, but that's good because that's what I'd like to showcase. So the first thing we're going to do is spend an S. Now we may move 1 or 2. Samurai Man's going to move to Yurakucho. Now you just flip these over when they're used. Now as we need to use 2, I'm just going to use the double P to resolve the event. How it's resolved, it just gets discarded. So we then gain 2 experience points. Samurai Man is in Hirakusho. I'm just going to stand them up like this while I move them. I'm going to spend the S to move one more to Tsukishima. I'm going to spend another P to resolve the blackmailer. And then we're left with our S, and we would like to get closer to some other events. We're going to use the S to move Alpha Kid 1, 2 towards some of the other problems in the city. So these are all discarded. They then get replaced with these 5 cards that we have here. For the moment, I'm not going to put them out. We still have 4 XP. Well, want to be able to do a few more things. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is we're going to spend 3 XP to buy the triple P. Now, another option would have been to spend 3 XP and unlock the level 1 skill Sword Dance, which if I had another P I would have done to prevent myself from taking damage. Because we've now completed the turn. So what happens with the end phase, we'll follow the instructions in yellow here. So we have to move this up. We take the next incident and put it into play in Kotanda. We then must take damage based on the number of enemies on the board. There is 1 enemy, so this 1 damage goes into our discard pile. We'll then redraw our hand, which for Samurai Man would be as so. Now, I'm going to remember he's got 1 XP, and we're going to just slide this back down to 0 as we're going to shuffle up and deal out Sonic Shadow's hand. Now, we didn't even use Samurai Man's skill. Reason for that, his skill is an attack skill, so it's not really going to help us much with the situation that we are currently in. So we're going to reveal our cards. So definitely not the best round. No. Sonic Shadow, you could see his double S would let him move to any space. He's a Ninja Speedster. So unfortunately we didn't get it, but just as I want to teach you guys the game, we're going to put the double S out there. It's just going to make for a better experience here. So what we do is we take the double S, trigger, Ninja Speedster. You can then move to Abisu. So we'll stand him up here, just looking down on him. Now we can spend a C for Assemble, bringing Oda Glamour as well into Abisu. And now we can attack 8-Bit Master. Now, unfortunately, we are not going to get our ×2 attack. Currently, Oda Glamour. So she's got her skill, which is Bow Perfume, which would be move a villain or super villain of your choice up to 2 spaces. The nice thing is that that movement doesn't trigger their effect, but we need to get to them. He was too far away. So what we're going to do is Sonic Shadow is going to attack with the P and the S. So that's going to be for 2 damage. Oda Glamour is going to attack with the P for a single damage. But don't forget, we have the amazing duo, which gives them +3 attack. Now, when they do that combo attack and they successfully hit, they'll gain 3 experience. Now, the reason why they successfully hit is the total amount of damage needed to do to him is 5. Now, you'll be wondering why we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's no carryover. You smash each level individually with a fire token. So that was a turn. We gained 3 XP. Now, we'll want to get another good card in our discard pile, which will be the triple S. So take that down to 0. We'll put it back up to 1, as it's going to be Samurai Man's turn. We're going to have to go through the events. So while this slides out, we've got the highway collapse in Toyosu. So we'll put this over here. Sorry, it's off camera, so you got to put the Highway Collapse and Toyosu into play, as well as put 1 damage into Sonic Shadow's deck. Now, you might think that the most important thing for us to do is try to take out 8-Bit Master, but we've got a problem here in that we've got Meguro, Highway Collapse, and the event in Komagame, which are going to push this destruction track up by 3. So we'll go here. If we ever get down here to 15, we're going to lose the game. Now, I hope it was clear with the attack action as you saw. I just want to go back quickly before we jump too far ahead. So as you saw here, I used 3 cards, 2 for Sonic Shadow, and 1 for Ode Glimmer in order to be able to chain everything together. So that's how attack works. We've gone over move, gone over resolve, taken a look at the symbol, we've taken a look at power up, and as I was saying before I got a little distracted, we are in a tight spot with regards to Toyosu and Komagame. So let's take a look at what we have. And it's not looking too pretty for Samurai Man in terms of what we want to accomplish. But we're going to do our best. So we're going to move with a C to go to Toyosu. I'm going to spend the 2 Ps to resolve the collapse. Now all we're going to be able to do is move and maybe another event resolve. I'd love to go to Komagame. I'm not going to get it done. I'm going to go to Otsuka. I'm going to resolve this other event with a C. So that gives us a total of 4 XP. We're up to 5 XP. And that really is the best that we're able to do. So at this point with the 5 XP, I want to start getting some better items. So we're going to spend all of it. We're going to give this Samurai Blade to Alpha Kid. Should equip him like this. We're then going to unlock the level 1 Sword Dance, which is great to block damage, but doesn't work out for us this turn. So this all goes into the discard pile. We take 1 damage. So as you can see, we've already taken 2 damage. We're going to have to shuffle up our deck. But once we get here, we then have to resolve all of these different events. So if a villain or supervillain has a CT skill, now we're going to just take a quick look in here and see if there is. We'll find a villain or a supervillain with one. I'm sure we just went by one. Evil arrives, encounter, counter. I don't see one of the villains with a CT skill right now, so I'm wondering why I'm drawing a blank. So in any case, you have specific skills like that. It may only be something that's on the menaces. So yeah, sorry. You have them on the menaces. So you can see with Fuji Sengen, when a new enemy appears, Fuji Sengen makes 1 additional enemy appear. So if we were fighting him and he was in play, we would draw 2 enemies. That's really annoying. Now with Dokkan, the Castle of Darkness, his CT skill will be to remove 1 of these damages. He essentially heals himself. So keep in mind the CT skills, which could possibly be on villains or supervillains, depending on the expansion right now, are only on the menaces. My apologies. So you set that off. Then we take a look at what's going on in the city. So we've got 1, 2 events. We slide this up. We must place a fire token at the overturned oil tanker on Meguro. If we do not resolve this the next time we get to here, we will then immediately lose the game. So we went up the track. We put the fire tokens. We now have to spawn another villain, which is going to be Yasha the Witch. And she's going to slip over here. I'm sure she's partially cut off. We'll hide a little bit of Shinjuku. So I'm going to have to go grab her standee. So we've got Yasha the Witch. And she's going to come into play in Nihon Bashi. Now we must also reveal, refresh the incidents. And it is now going to be Sonic Shadow's turn. So we've got our cards here, and we'll take an example of why maybe you decide you want to brush up because there's a lot of damage or something that you want to try to do. So let's just take a look at what we could do with brush up. So let's say, sorry, not brush up, with charge up. So let's say we're like, man, we really need to kick some butt here. We're not in a great situation. Well, you could spend those 2 cards to draw another one. And if you might get unlucky, draw something like a damage. But if you got a much better deck, and let's say you know that you've only got these 2 ones, everything else is double, might be worth it. You could potentially get, a triple speed that you'd be able to add to what you're doing this turn. Now, you don't necessarily need it, but just to show you how the charge up function will be useful. Now, brush up, if we want to start thinning down this deck and focusing only on speed, which is entirely viable. We could spend a P, for example, to remove the C from the game. Let's say that's something that we actually do. We're just going to get rid of it. We're in a tight spot here, but we also want to stop taking damage because we got 2 villains on the board. Well, we need to do 8 damage. So Sonic Shadow can use his S. So that'll give him 2 damage. Auto Glamour with 1 damage. So we're going to need to do something else here. Let's just see, 2, 3, we're at 6, we need 8. So you know what? Brushing out the P and the C, definitely not the kind of thing that we really want to do at this point. So we'd have to spend the other S. So with that other S we've got here, we'd use this as Sonic Shadows. This one here is Eau de Glamours, and let's stand them up since they're activating. So total of 4, 5, plus 3 is 8, meaning we now defeat him. So I actually did make a mistake here because I misread that, everything's so far away. So during the end phase of each active player character's step, if you share a space with 8-Bit Master, you have to take an additional card. Well, you know what we'll do? We're just going to add that damage over into Sonic Shadow's deck. So 8-Bit Master has been defeated. We can discard this card. We can then take this fire token. You can't quite see it up there. You would have saw it probably on the components. We take a fire token. We place it up in Adachi Asylum. One side is for villains. One side is for super villains. We've got our first villain defeated. But as you can see, we've spent all of our resources almost. Well, we're going to still move Sonic Shadow into position to hopefully resolve that incident at Meguro so that we do not lose the game. But it's the end phase. Yasha the Witch is still around, so we do have to add another damage that goes into the new discard pile. So we're going to slide this up. We will put Ueno, Masu Animal Escape, which is up at the top here. So this now goes into play. It's a yellow. Definitely want to try to get this stuff resolved. We're going to finish shuffling up and dealing out Samurai Man's stuff. And hopefully, maybe we can actually just take out Yasha the Witch and resolve a few things at the same time here. I need to get back in control of this board. So we reveal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is, in all honesty, just a god-awful hand. All of our good stuff is right in here. So we're not going to be able to do too much, unfortunately. So we're going to pretend, as I'm teaching the game, that this damage wasn't in there. And we're going to bust out the, where is it there? The triple P. So we can show you what a really solid sort of round could potentially look like. Because we've got some cool abilities with Alpha Kid. Now I'm trying to see if there's a way that we want to do this. So getting the Komogami would be good. Getting to the other thing would be good. But you know what? I like beating bad guys. So we're going to focus on beating the bad guy because we don't want to take damage. Nothing's on fire as of yet. We're just going to be dealing with a lot of stress over there. But let's try to get this board under control. So first off, we're going to move Samurai Man 1 into Neon Bashi. Now, Alpha Kid's ability Sixth Sense means he can assemble for free. So boom. Alpha Kid's joining Samurai Man. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to attack. We need to do 5 damage. So we're actually in really good shape. So for 5 damage, we can just use the C and the S because we have our amazing attack duo. So we smash through this first level right here. Now, you got to pay attention with something. If the active player characters stops on the same space as Yasha the Witch and they have a P-type energy in the end, they must discard one of them. Oof. Yasha's not friendly to power-type characters, so we actually would have to have discarded one of these, which actually completely screws up my plan. So pay attention to what we're doing. So we're just going to pretend that's not the case because I want to show you what a good solid play is. But these little mistakes, I'm actually happy they're happening during this how to play because they're showing you how challenging it is. Because if you got to discard this, well, that's great. I can do 6 out of the 8 damage now. Without that extra card, I'm not able to do the amazing attack duo, which is really annoying. So in any case, what we could then do now is use both of those. If we hadn't had to discard it, we could then defeat Yasha. That gives us a nice whopping 6 XP. She's gone. We're not going to take any damage this turn because we finally are in control of the board, but things aren't looking great. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to just finish out this round, and then Juliana will come back at you with a review. So we've got our 6 XP here. And I believe I didn't level up Sonic Shadow last time. Not a big deal. I'm actually going to show you some of the other things that we can do. So for 6 XP, what we're going to do is unlock one of these abilities. So now when using an S for speed, we got a lot of problems with speed on the board. Samurai Man would be able to count it as a double. You can take one of those unlocked tokens that I had out earlier, but I'm not going to put them on there because I'll probably just drop it. So that would be the end of Samurai Man's turn. Next, let's reveal the cards that we've got for Sonic Shadow. Oof, very ugly. But also don't forget the end of Samurai Man's turn. We got to move that up. We've got Shinbashi. It comes into play. And next time, we're going to have some bad stuff happening. So we've got to resolve this. What's unfortunate is, if you're looking at brushing up, using the triple speed to get rid of both damages from the deck would be a really powerful move. But it's not something that we're going to be able to do. So we don't have a choice. This triple speed gets used to resolve the situation in Meguro. I'm actually going to use both of these to brush up the damage. Remember, it doesn't go there. It actually is removed from the game. When this deck is empty, we'll lose. And we'd hit 8-Bit Master last time. Plus, we resolved the thing, so we'd be at 5. Now we want to be a little bit more powerful, so we can spend 4 XP upgrading the amazing attack duo for Oda Glamour and Sonic Shadow, making them stronger. Now, we got to go back to this point, and we have 2 villains that have been defeated already. So Adachi Asylum is full of villains. We then take these villain cards. They are removed from the game. We are now facing off against super villains only. So we reveal the first super villain, who would be Yata, the crow. So we'd have to go grab Yata and put him into play. Of course, I'm out here and I grab King Kaiju. Where's Yata? Yata's right here. I'm just going to take another one to the clear bases. And he starts in Shirogane, which is always one of the challenging parts of this game. Now, am I hiding it? Yeah, I was hiding it a little bit. So he starts here in Shirogane, which is actually a pretty good thing for us overall. No CT skills. Unfortunately, we have 2 yellow events, so we're up the track at 4 now. No fire. Well, 3 yellow events, so we're up to 5. Filling came out. This stays here. We got to refresh the events. And then we're going to continue playing. So we'll put these into his discard pile. And just to give you an example, I think I slid that down a little bit, but we got an idea what's going on. We can reveal Samurai Man's card. So he's actually in a good spot, and we're slowly starting to get this under control. Like, it's not really a great idea per se for us to run. Engage Yada. So give you an idea as to what we had left for Sonic Shadow. So his hand probably would be, I'm just going to put those down, shuffle these up. Those are the last 3 cards. And this just goes to show you the level of communication you're going to need. So if we look at what we get here, well, Sonic Shadow unfortunately didn't get some great stuff. We're going to need to help him out in order to take this guy down. But we also need to defeat some guys. Well, not some guys. We need to take out some of these events along the way. It really wasn't a great draw. But you mean with all the glamour and this, Sonic Shadow and Hurricane group up and do some damage. So we'll do one last turn with Samurai Man and Alpha Kid here. Just trying to make the best of what we're able to do. So really, you want to use this double P for a successive action. The move 1, 2, 3. I want to use a P and an S. See, we really wouldn't need that triple again there. So we resolve we want to escape. Now, unfortunately, we can get to Komogame. So that's probably going to make the most sense. So we're going to end up with a leftover card. So we're going to move up to Komogame using the other P. We just have 1 card left. So we'll move Alpha Kid closer as he's getting close to Shinbashi. Move this up. Fortunately, we got Zoshikaya. So just a green one. But we have to add a damage into the discard pile. Well, I could have just not moved him. Another option would have been not moving him, keeping that P instead, and using the Sword Dance to block the damage. But it's not what I did. So keep that in mind. Use your abilities. Level up your heroes. As you can see, it's a 2-player game, and we've only had 3 villains out, and we're in a challenging situation. I made some slight mistakes and tried to figure it out. It's a little tricky doing all of this on camera with this big board, but I hope you got a good feel for what you're going to be doing in Tokyo Sidekick, as this is just really an intro into the game. There's a lot of intricacies to it. For example, with Sonic Shadow, once he gets the perfect answer, 4 S's lets him whip around the board and take out all that stuff. So each character is going to develop their own specialties, and you're going to want to really try to build them up to their strengths. Brush out their decks. If you got a speed deck, get rid of damage. Get rid of your P's. Get rid of your C's. You'll still need some of them, but if you're going to get those, try to make sure they're the upgraded ones. Now, there you have it. We've taught you how to play Tokyo Sidekick. Now keep it right here, as Julie and I are going to be coming back at you with a review of the game. So Tokyo Sidekick number 1. Well, just Tokyo Sidekick, but just love that little number 1 over there. What did you think of this game?
It's a number 1. It's not a exclamation mark.
No, it's number 1. It's the first issue. Okay. Comic books.
Okay.
Issue number 1, the most important issue. Well, the one that sells for the most later on.
This is, I have to say, I'm really impressed with the acrylic standees. I really like them. They're really nice. It adds a little bit of. I don't think we have any other acrylic standees.
No, this is definitely the first game that we got with the acrylic standees. Just to mention that the standees are an add-on during the Kickstarter. I do believe that there's a possibility they will be available after the Kickstarter directly through Japanime games. All of our local game stores that sell their games don't carry the acrylic standees, so just keep that in mind. We did get a first run test production of those that came with this test production of the game. Well, preview copy, I guess. Probably a better way to say it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the board's a little dark and it's a little hard to find the cities.
But we made a mistake. We didn't realize that they were actually marked on the cards.
Yeah, we figured that out afterwards. That, I think, is probably one of my only complaints about the game. I really had a lot of fun. It's a nice cooperative game. I like the fact that, I say it, I repeat myself, I like when you can upgrade your character, and you can do this with the different levels of skill that you can go get. I like the different sidekicks that come into play here, and how the sidekicks aren't just nothing sidekicks. They have powers as well, and you can give them hit points as well. Not hit points, but attack points as well. So that was a lot of fun, and I like that you have different types of characters that are power or. So I played with power and speed characters. I like smashing things. So I had a lot of fun with the power characters.
It's very interesting because when I was like, try a speed character, you're like, no. And then you tried the speed character, you're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, so you can talk about, I guess, the concentration because you're the only one that played one.
Yeah, so just to give you a bit of background on what we played in the game, we've played against King Kaiju a few times. We've fought against, and I'm drawing a blank, it's the moving city, I believe it was Dokkan. We didn't fight against the final menace, and we have played collectively as every hero except for Snake Kiss and Melty. And I got to play as a concentration hero, and I played as Oni, the android, with his sidekick Haikyuu. And it's really neat how each character pairs with the sidekicks. The concentration characters are going to be more of a support role. And the first time we played, actually, Julie was playing as Kaguya Girl. She has an ability if you have 8 cards in your hand, and she's like, how the hell am I going to get 8 cards?
I didn't say HE double hockey sticks. I said heck, not HE double hockey sticks.
Okay, it's not that much of a difference.
Okay.
In any case. And then we were playing with Oni, and his ability to let you draw cards from the discard pile, especially if it's triggered with a triple, which lets you do a successive ability. Like, oh, that's how you get all of your cards back into the game. Now, that being said, the one thing that I need to remind everyone, because we forgot, and I believe our first game or two, we actually would have lost the games with regards to brush up. When you brush damage out of your deck, it is out of the game. So that damage pile is finite. Keep that in mind. I'm thinking about that when I'm talking about Oni, because he's got some abilities that let you heal and put damage back in the deck. So that just goes to show you how those concentration characters are going to be a little different. But every character plays differently. I mean, you played as Elec Armor, who's a little bit of an Iron Man analog. A little bit of Batman thrown in there too with his nemesis Jinx Catwoman. What did you talk a little bit about the differences between your two characters? Because you're...
Well, the Kaguya Girl has a fun ability. Is that how you name Kaguya, okay. She's fun because she can basically teleport to any villain. So that was fun. And then when I played the next one, which was the one you just named.
Yeah, I like Armor.
I was like, I can't move around how am I supposed to get to the villain? You have to actually use movement. And, but he had a sidekick that had basically the Batmobile.
Yes, with rockets on it. I love it.
that they could pick up people and carry them for free. And
that was really helpful, actually.
It was. So it's a different way of playing, and you have to adapt your play, and that's part of the fun as well. The speed character that I played afterwards was...
Gray Rabbit.
Actually, I liked his sidekick, I think, better than him. Maybe I wasn't playing him well, but the sidekick was a lot of fun.
But you loved his abilities. He had probably some of the best speed-based support abilities when he let us all draw a card, as well as move around the map.
He was clutch at the end to be able to defeat the big bad.
Yes. he was able to actually move the entire team into position, since typically you know which menace you're playing. The menace spawned and literally all the heroes just beat on him. So you will be able to see some pictures of that on our Instagram as we go through all of our pictures for Tokyo Sidekick. Check it out.
I think the last thing I would say about it is definitely seemed harder at 2 players than at 4 players, because we've played both with one character and then also each controlling 2 characters, and definitely felt a lot easier at 4 characters.
Yeah, and I'd have to agree with you on that. I wasn't sure. I honestly thought that we were going to have it be more challenging at 4. When we went back just through a couple of the rules, realized the mistake we made with regards to damage. We're like, oh, we probably would have potentially lost these 2 games. I know that our third game we definitely didn't lose because we didn't cycle through 20 damage when you're playing on normal, 25 on easy. We didn't go through that much healing. We wouldn't have had to gone through that much healing. But on our 4-player game, I think part of it is luck. But the main thing is, got a little lost there thinking about 2 to 4, is the sequence of events that come out and the incidents. When you're playing with 2 players, it's like you get a chance, like one incident comes out, another incident comes out, and then you're already like back to the start having another villain come out. So there definitely felt like there was more pressure at the 2-player count than at 4. Also, I think it's just a little bit, it's a little difficult to get to the villain with 2 players, whereas in our 4-player game, we had Sandshark that started in Shinkaba. I was Samurai Man, who started right next to him, and I had the perfect draw to take him out in 1 turn. Julie's a little disappointed being Kaguya Girl, but I started the game, I took out Sandshark, we had no damage go out at all in that first round. So we were able to move around the map, take care of a lot of the incidents, and start upgrading our characters. And throughout the entire game, we just really didn't take all that much damage because of how the game started. Now, I'm sure that we could get a similar experience in a 2-player game, but it's just going to be harder for a scenario to show up where a villain can be defeated right off the bat in your first turn. Because typically what happened in our 2-player games was we take care of some of the incidents, make sure that you get the red and yellow ones. We should talk about that actually afterwards. But we took care of those incidents. We probably got 1 hit on the guy, maybe a 2nd hit. But we just had a lot more things we're trying to do to also manage that damage gauge in Tokyo to make sure that you don't lose, which is those red and yellow incidents that we had to resolve. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? We never really talked about the moving around the map and having to resolve what's going on in Tokyo.
It was challenging at times depending on what speed characters you have and what cards you're pulling, because you can end up pulling not a very good hand, and that happened in one of our games, that a couple hands in a row I wasn't pulling the right cards to be able to help us on the 2-player games. And even in the 4-player game, there was a time that I wasn't able to pull the cards. We had a good thing going where basically we're at 2 power characters going one after the other right after the villain shows up. Basically, we were getting rid of the villain within the first or the second character's turn, just because, so managing threat. It's definitely something that you have to manage. You have to get those, those different threat markers. It was the hardest round I think we had was when we got the 4 red incidents that came out.
Well, we had a yellow, and then we had like the 3 red in a row, which was just crazy. Plus, we had some of the nastier villains show up, so it was definitely quite challenging. And everything was speed that we needed to resolve. Like, we just weren't set up to handle it. We managed to get through it, but it was very challenging. So I don't think there's much more that we want to necessarily add, except if you want to talk about the deck building component, because I know deck building is something that you enjoy, and I think that's maybe something that maybe raised the value of the game in your opinion.
It's part of the choice you have to make for building your character, where you can either build up some of the cards in your deck or the abilities, and it's limited resources. As you build up your XP, you choose if you're building up your skill or if you're building up your cards, and in our experience, you have to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, and you definitely need to make sure, well, you don't have to if you're playing a 4-player game, but in a 2-player game, upgrading your sidekick ability is going to be pretty clutch in order to be able to defeat the big bad villains, because otherwise, it's not that easy. And what's interesting about it is we're looking at a character like Oni, because of his ability to swap places with your sidekick, you're almost never in the same location. Now, it's thematic to the sidekicks themselves, and I did really like it, but keep that in mind. Everyone plays differently. Like I played Cyber Tengu and Sonic the Ninja. They do things differently. Tengu can move into an area and basically resolve incidents that are around him. Sonic eventually gets an ability, he can just run through everything and
I forgot
resolve it all.
that second power character that I had was able to change cards in his hand, which was clutch.
Yeah, you're basically like, forget this damage, so just get rid of it, keep going. Yeah. So there was a lot of really cool things. Also, if you do like flavor and background, there was tons of stuff that has been done in this game with regards to translation to really bring you into the world of Tokyo Sidekick. Big thanks to Maisie Hatchard for doing that, because we've got a few Japanime games here, and I say no matter what you're doing, translating Japanese to English is hard, but there is just a lot more in this one than any of the other games that we've played, especially in terms of world building, choking on my own words there, because it's got distinct characters, distinct villains, histories, backstories, and I've read through them all. Julie doesn't always go in for that type of stuff, but it really brought me into the world, and I'm curious to see how the story of Tokyo Sidekick is going to continue. There's definitely some setup as they talk about one of the characters. You can see, the main one up front, in terms of a sidekick, Alpha Kid, who's got powers even he doesn't know. Maybe we'll see him as a hero a few expansions down the line, but I don't know. There's apparently been a lot of releases for this in Japan by the original publishing company, Little Future, so I might have to take a peek and see what else is available. Not that I can read Japanese or anything like that.
You can speak it, you just can't read it?
There's 3 different alphabets, and I can read the first 2 alphabets, forgot plenty of words, but I'm terrible with kanji. Never liked kanji.
So, since I think I've given my rating the first time, last couple reviews, so why don't you give yours first?
So I gotta say, when I heard about Tokyo Sidekick, I was excited about it. It was a hero game, reminded me a little bit of My Hero Academia. Since there's no board game for that, I'd be like, well, this is cool. I go for anime style art. I love that this is really a mesh of, Marvel, DC, the big US superheroes, with like a Japanese flavor to it. And the art, acrylic standees, I think they're almost a must. If you don't need them, but they just looked really cool. A lot of our pictures on Facebook and Instagram got nice comments on them. So think about them. I know I feel like I'm trying to push you on them, but I like them. She likes them. When a woman says she likes something, you should listen to her. They have good taste. In any case, I was always really excited about this. And I gotta say, I couldn't be happier with this. When we first got the game, Julie was like, are we doing a preview, a review? We've gone to spend enough time with it because of the extended time that we got. And I got to say, this game is definitely one that's going to stick around in my collection. I'm going to be back in the Kickstarter myself. There's an expansion that's included in the Kickstarter. I want the expansion. Curious to see what some of the stretch goals are going to be as well. So I'm actually going to give this a higher score than I thought, just because of its simplicity to teach and lots of complexity, which we didn't actually talk about in terms of the actions you're going to take. I give this an 8.5. It's a solid co-op. Even people that aren't into this style per se will enjoy building their characters, the depth of making successive actions, how you have to fight together, which maybe Julie will talk about a little bit as she gives her final score, because we neglected that as well. But yeah, 8.5, solid addition. If you like co-op games, I definitely think you should be thinking about picking this one up.
So I'm going to give it an 8. I really had a lot of fun with it. I love the production value of it. To talk about fighting together, I thought that was a neat component that definitely helps us. That's a must to fight the big bad. But basically, if you're in the same location, even if it's not your turn, you can ask, one of your other side heroes or sidekicks to help you out in defeating a monster or a big bad. So that was fun as well. So for me, it's the fact that you're playing with characters that can upgrade the look of the game, the ease of play, and the fact that it's a little difficult in the sense that it's not just an easy game. You really have to think about it to be able to do it without it having to be a brain burner. It's that right balance, I think, and it strikes the right balance, I guess, is what I was trying to say. So
a good example of that, just one last point to make, is successive actions, which we talked about in our How to Play. If you skipped ahead, you might want to go check it out. But a few times, if you hadn't, you looked at your action and you're like, how did I run out of resources? And I'm like, what about that successive action? You're like, you're right. I'm going to use my double, this and that. And then everything just worked out the way we wanted it to.
So on that note, it's time to remind you that you can like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified if when we have some new content for you.
Also, down below in the video description, I already mentioned that we had some stuff there. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you want to see pictures of Julie and I playing Tokyo Sidekick, well, there are plenty of them on those feeds. And then popping up in front of us are going to be links to some of our previously released content. The first one over here is going to take you to our most recently released video. The one in front of Julie is going to take you back to what? Cowboy Bebop? Space Serenade?
Sure.
Yeah, so it'll take you to Cowboy Bebop, our review and how to play of Space Serenade. Now what do we need to do?
Now we need to grab our drinks.
Grab our sidekick?
Yeah, I have to...
Yeah, I know. We can hide behind the box and take a sip, not promoting this beverage.
We're going to keep playing games.
Going to keep playing games. Going to keep playing this one. Looking forward to the expansion. I forgot what it's called, but it's Akihabara something, and Akihabara is really a cool place. Maybe I'll get you to come to Japan with me at some point.
Sure, maybe.